Okay, my name's Dan with Meridian Fence. Today we're at a job site that is sight unseen. This is the standard repairs. We're going to be replacing pickets that are damaged on the first section, the second section. We'll be skipping down to the fifth section, sixth section, and on the very last section down there we have pickets and a bottom rail we'll be replacing. Down the fence line we'll be replacing all the caps, and then we'll be adding in screws on each cap so they won't fall off again and they won't have to replace them again. We're going to start with the first one right here. I went through and identified everything that had a hole in it with blue tape. We're going to want to mark it. This way we have exact inventory counts, so when we give you guys an estimate, it can be accurate. And when we're doing the returns, it's 100% accurate again. So when we do it this, I start with looking at all my caps. So this cap may not be listed in our stuff, but you can see it's cracked here, it's cracked there. It could be glued down, and if it's glued down, then that's where the hammer and a small rubber hammer come in handy to get underneath it. And this time of year, since they're frozen in place, sometimes even removing these when they're not broken, they'll break. And then if we have plenty here to replace, I brought extra at this point to just kind of get an idea of my repair. In the top of this post there is a screw. This will be the first section I'll be removing. This screw just keeps this from shifting back and forth. And not all rails are the same. These rails actually have locking tabs on it, and the locking tabs keep the rail from sliding out of the actual pocket. And I will show you that when I remove those. I will also show you one without locking tabs on it. Locking tabs are something that comes from the manufacturer, and sometimes they have them, sometimes they don't. Today, usually it's a Phillips head screw, but today it's a 5 or a 3/8 self-tap ring. So we'll remove that one quick and easy. I can reuse that same screw right back in there later on, and then we'll just take our screws out that are holding this rail from shifting back and forth, starting in that back right corner. Top and bottom, because you never know when you're gonna have to shift something extra. And that just holds your pickets in line, keeps them from shifting in line as you're going through doing your repairs. I have not moved that cap at that end, but we're going to see what it looks like, whether it's a shortcut or an easy slide off. Yeah, again, this one has a locking tab in it. Usually it's a Phillips head screw in there, but sometimes they do these. Now we're safe to pull it apart and put it back together. Okay, this one on this end does not have locking tabs because it was not a full length piece, so it could slide out easy or it may not. And some days it's like that and other days it's not. So right there, no extra room. Okay, at this point either I can try to force it out, which I don't think I have enough space with that post for flexing to push this out to get this piece off. No. So here is where the next step comes in. We're climbing on the ladder and pulling out a saw. With the saw, we don't want to cut any more than we have to, just enough so we can slide it out easily and safely. Knowing that I have a gap this wide, when I slide it this far, and I know how much gap I have on the other side is this much before the locking tabs, I'm only going to cut out what I need, which gives me the room for sliding it out the rest of the way. It's going to go down the post, not much you can do on that. At this point, now comes in this handy little tool. This is for the locking tabs that we're discussing. One goes on the inside. They're curved, so as you push them in, the locking tabs push in. And since I'm short, or vertically challenged, whichever way you want to call it, we'll climb in, slide it in both sides of the post itself. And I should have cut that on that end enough, to the point where this could slide out, right like that. Handy little tool. These are the locking tabs for which we were discussing. That's where these come in, and they slide over the top of it and keeps them pushed in as you're sliding the rail out. Now the rail comes this way and lifts out. And we only cut out just the bare minimum of what we needed off this side. And when we go back in, we still have our locking screw there. And we'll still have our locking screw there along with the locking tabs. All right, now that one's tore apart. We know which two are bad. We already marked them. They just slide right out. There we go. It's frozen a little bit on the bottom, but now these two, tongue and groove, so there's no wrong way to put them back together. Unless you have to trim one on the end, then you use your skill saw, table saw, whichever you prefer. That one is simple as that. I can to keep the colors uniform. So if I have multiple sections like this today, I would probably take one off that one and put it in here to keep my colors uniform. Since we're just showing an example of how to repair today and how to install, it's as simple as this. You're back in, you're in groove. Now on a lot of these, for Meridian Fence, if we installed this fence originally, there would be two U-channels usually. The U-channel is actually this right here. It locks in place with 3 screws usually. This one has not got 3 screws in it. We're gonna go ahead and pull that off because I don't want to have to come back for any future repairs just because something didn't turn out right. And I'll go ahead and secure this now before I re-secure everything back together. All right, manufacturer specs do want 3 screws in each piece of U-channel. U-channel just runs between the routed groove on the post, on top and bottom. And this one was slitted inside. They're not normally slipped inside the U-channel, but this one was, so we're gonna stick with what was working. One top, one bottom, and one in the middle. I can officially put everything back together on it, and that would be part of our first section. Now, since I know I'm pulling out more than one section on this particular job, and the job section is the one right next door, I already have a top rail out, which makes my life a little easier. And sometimes you can just pull 2 screws and be able to slide your rail back out and back in. We're going to check our caps on this one too, again, if they don't come off easy, because they're frozen in place this time of year. Sometimes they're silicone, sometimes they're screwed. This one, nothing wrong with it, we'll reuse it. Comes down to it, this one is very short in here, approximately about that far in. This end's got plenty of room for slop. There are no locking tabs on it that I can physically fill. So when I pull my screw on this, because I have 2 sections next to each other, convenient. If you don't pull the second one, sometimes they're frozen in place and then you have to fight it the whole time. Now this will go that way if we can push. If not, we just slide it that way. Sometimes the locking tabs, I didn't feel those side and that side. Didn't check it, but they were there. And this comes back out real quick and easy. And then we're right to our next 2 that are marked already. No locking tabs, we're gonna use this side first. Got the locking tabs. And then it's just lining everything back up. There, once it falls in, no locking tabs on this side. It just slid into the extra slack. And now we lift this one up a little bit and slide it in so the locking tabs do their job. Then we'll do the same thing on this side. Slide it all the way in. This has got the extra room, the locking tabs, and we're back in place. Now, same thing as we did before. Come to the end and reattach our screws before we do anything else, because I don't want to forget. Locking tabs up top real quick and then we're good to go. Everything will go back in line and we'll recap it. Then we'll move down to the other end where we have a rail we need to replace that's on the bottom. Now this is where the screw holes line back up, and you got no questions about it. You can just put your screws right back in. The other side slid out a little bit, I felt that. That's okay. Now it's locked in place there. Won't go any further from the top right there. We just go further down the line. And we're going right back in the original hole. And we're good to go there. Now, finishing touch would basically be put our Phillips on. Normally I'd have Phillips on the top so I wouldn't have to switch bits so much. But we'll go ahead and throw everything back in line. Lock our corners in, or we already have it, which locks in our U-channel. It's already locked. This will keep our pickets from shifting too much and allowing gaps. Right back in the same holes as before. Same thing over here. And then just a little bit. And we'll go right there. While I'm here, and since I know I actually am going to be doing this anyways, I'll load my caps back on and in place, and go ahead and shoot my screws on my way down. And replace the one that was broken. And I carry a pocket full of screws with me just for this purpose of securing these caps. These are the ones where you want the colors to match. This way they're not obvious when they stand out later on. Cream colored cap, tan colored. Each one holds it in place. We had a lot of them out in Star area where the new construct's being built. There's no trees. Very windy in Star, and the caps fly off non-stop. This was our solution, because when you lose 25 caps at $5 or $6 a cap, they add up fast. So that's the light, easy duty of this side. We'll go ahead and go to the far end so it gives you a chance to see how a bottom rail is replaced, and then we go from there.